Hey guys, this is Alex, and welcome to the Two Dudes Brews and Reviews podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about 2019's El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. And we also give some thoughts on the original show and its spin-off Better Call Saul. If you like what you hear, consider subscribing to the podcast and maybe even tell your friends about us. With that being said, we hope you enjoy the show.
Whoa.
I like it. Are we recording?
Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
Whoa. Bro, that's a weird beer. It's not bad. It's just I've never had a beer like this. It's called Left Hand Brewing Company. It's a key lime pie nitro, sour ale with lactose lime, vanilla, and cinnamon.
I think this company makes other nitro beers that I've had.
Really?
You've probably had it too, and you just don't even remember.
I'm going to start looking for this brand. Nitro beers are great. It's 7.5. Be careful. It's really good, though.
Certainly doesn't taste like 7.5. Before we hop into movie discussion and stuff, what's been going on, man?
Not shit. You know, I feel like I should be the one to talk less when it comes to catching up because you're the one that went on vacation.
I did. I've been in Ohio for less than 24 hours now. Landed in Cincinnati last night around 9 p.m. It was a long fucking day spent driving in the car, waiting at the airport, getting in a car to come home. Travel is really monotonous and exhausting.
The drive home sucks. Or the flight home or whatever you want to put it. The going to is fun. It's super... The anticipation makes it fun, and it gives you that boost of motivation to get through airport security and all that, you know. Because when you're carrying a bomb with you, it can be kind of, nerve-wracking.
Yeah, exactly.
But once you're there, no big deal. But yeah, man, did you have a good time?
It was a good trip. We were in Fort Lauderdale for a few days. We didn't really do anything.
That's your type of vacation.
Yeah, certainly. I like relaxing. I like having good food and going to nature-related things. Mm-hmm. We went to a little hokey zoo and...
Hokey?
Yeah, it was hokey.
Like a petting zoo?
I mean, they had
goats and shit.
They did have exotic animals like bobcats and a bear and alligators and shit, but it was small scale compared to the Cincinnati Zoo. We're kind of spoiled around here.
Wasn't nothing like the Life of Pi? Wasn't that type of zoo?
No, not as beautiful. We drove through Miami, Interstate 95, in what was probably the most butthole clenching drive I've ever had, with the most insane drivers I've ever shared the road with.
Yeah,
that was an experience. But I'm here alive to tell the tale. So
right. You look like you've been to Florida. Your face is slightly less pale than your fellow Ohioan over here. You look good. You look fresh.
Well, thank you. Because as a ginger who normally walks around looking like a ghost for 8 months of the year, that's a great compliment.
Yeah, it's gonna wear off in 3 days though. So don't wear it while you got it. I'm
gonna have to hit the tanning bed. Do some basic bitch stuff to
hit up that Planet Fitness.
Oh yeah.
Get you a slice of pizza and hit the tanning bed.
They're getting money from me every month, so I might as well. You
need to get in there and just go tanning. Fuck the workout.
Oh, I gotta work out, dude.
Working out sucks. I love it, but I hate it. And every time I go, I don't want to be there. But then when I'm done, I'm like, yeah, that's fucking right, you pussy. You don't understand. Come here, you fucking pussy.
I don't mind being at the gym. It's just getting the motivation to leave the house and go, especially during the winter months.
Yeah. I just make it a habit after work. It's I can't go home until I work out. And if I do go home without working out, I'm like, hey, you fucking fat piece of shit. You sack. The self-talk is super healthy, You got me, so obviously we're doing El Camino tonight. And was it after the last podcast you had me I started watching Better Call Saul?
I believe so.
Yeah, so 2 weeks. I'm on season 3 right now. And just to get this shit started, I haven't seen Breaking Bad, the series, since the final season came out.
You were only 16 when the show ended, right?
Yeah, I was very young. I really just remember the big moments. And it was I remember a lot of the family drama stuff. And I remember less about the gang shit. And I totally forgot about the whole shit that happens with Jesse in the last season. He's locked up and shit.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that stuff. And so I I watched a YouTube video on a series recap, and that kind of helped me out a lot. I forgot they bought Walt Jr. That nice ass car. And I forgot about little things like that.
Yeah.
But from what I can tell, and I don't know if this is unpopular opinion, and I know it isn't with you, but I think Better Call Saul is much better.
Completely agree.
And I know they're they're different. I mean, it's different characters and different time. But the writing, I mean, it's made after the fact. I just think the writing's a lot better. All the characters, not to say that Breaking Bad lacked these things, but the pacing of Breaking Bad is like, in the first season, or the first episode of the first season, like, shit's already going. And Better Call Saul, I feel like you're slowly watching this normal dude that lived like a normal life with like slight delinquency in his past. Like, I feel like I'm watching him transform into like, it's almost like the Godfather. Like he's like about to become some big henchman or something, you know. Obviously, watching him lose his morals and stuff. Yeah, it's fucking great.
I feel like Breaking Bad did that too, but you're right about the faster pace thing. That show, we've kind of talked about it at work a few times. I still think Breaking Bad is like one of the greatest shows ever made.
Great.
The second to last episode, I believe it's called like Ozymandias. I think it's like the greatest episode of like television history.
It's directed by Rian Johnson.
That's right.
He also did The Last Jedi, which is like terrible.
Hey, he did Looper.
He did, yep.
You like that one?
It's a great movie.
The final season of Breaking Bad is the one where it seems like they kind of rush to certain conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I'm not a huge fan of like the season finale.
Yeah. I also like think the way they wrap up all the shit with the Hank in the last few seasons is kind of rushed.
His discovery of Walt being Heisenberg.
Yeah, on the toilet. It's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, also I hate Skyler. I fucking hate that character.
I used to.
Mega bitch.
Hey man, if your husband was the meth lord, I think I'd be a bitch too.
Nah.
Even though she kind of gets in on it near the end. But it's out of a necessity to keep the family together.
If Elizabeth told me tomorrow that she's been stashing money from selling like feet pics online for the last 3 years and she has $100,000 from it, I'd be like, okay, keep doing that, please.
Yeah. I
wouldn't care. I mean, it's not an illegal activity, but still. Yeah, I don't know. I like Breaking Bad. It's not like it's just in comparison. I just think, I feel like with Better Call Saul, the lack of stakes, like the stakes are a lot lower than Breaking Bad, and and like the ability to write the show in a way where things feel like it's make or break, life or death, over like small little nuances in the law and like the lawyer business and
the relationship between Chuck and Jimmy.
And you can like root for each character a little bit better, I think.
It's more like gray. Mm-hmm. Like when it comes to like the morals,
and then it's very neutral. Like you can understand each character's their side of the story, their ground they stand on. Like I don't know, Kim is like a great character. You know, obviously Jimmy, Saul. You root for him, but also you know he's in the wrong. You like can side with Chuck, and also like Howard, and all these different characters where like they have their own. I don't know. They feel as important. They have more screen time too. Like it's not all just about. And not to say that Breaking Bad was that way. You know, you got to see Jesse, Walt, Skyler, Hank. You know, those are probably like the big ones, and like Gus and like all that other shit. But it's a little bit more intimate.
At the end of the day, Breaking Bad was Walt's story. Mm-hmm. But with Better Call Saul, I feel like it's kind of like a Mike show too. Like you're getting these split storylines where like Mike and Jimmy may not interact for like 8 episodes, and they just have these individual storylines going on, each equally as captivating, really. The show does do a better job. And I think Chuck McGill might be one of the more complex TV characters I've ever seen.
He's great. Like the actor that plays Chuck.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome.
I think his name's like Michael McKeenan or something like that. I've seen him in other stuff. He was in the movie This Is Spinal Tap.
I've never heard of that. What's that?
It's like a fake music documentary. It's like kind of like I think they call it like a mockumentary, where they like make fun of documentaries like that. It's supposed to be really great. But yeah, I know a lot of people that watched Breaking Bad and love it and like did not give Better Call Saul a chance because they find it boring.
I was talking to my mom on the phone about it actually, because I know they had watched the first few seasons and they dropped off. They were like, my mom and stepdad, they just couldn't get into it. And to me, it's like, it's that slow burn. It's a slow burn show. Also, I think the cinematography steps up quite a bit compared to Breaking Bad. Like I feel, and like it's littered in El Camino as well. But and not to say that Breaking Bad didn't do a good job of cinematography, but it feels a little bit more masterful in Breaking Call Saul. Oh my God, Better Call Saul. Like specifically, like I remember one episode where Mike's taking apart the tracker gas cap. And when he's throwing shit away in the trash can, and like the shot is in the trash can, it's looking up, and just like every scene is like that. It's just really nice.
I always get a laugh when they do shots like that.
Yeah.
Like someone thought of that. Like, let's put the camera at the bottom of the trash can.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, it's great. I don't want to get on. I've just found a new love for a show. I know the final season's coming out in April, I think, right? Is that right? Or is it May?
A little less than a month. I'm very excited. Very, very excited.
Is it going to be released like weekly?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think when shows are kind of released like all at once, where you can like binge the entire season in 1 or 2 nights, it leads to the show being kind of forgettable. You got to have time to digest each episode. And yeah, I'm glad that Saul does that, because it's the kind of show that needs to be digested over a lengthy period of time.
Yeah, I've been binging the fuck out of it. I've watched it in about a week, though. I mean, it's been like 5 or 6 days since I've watched an episode. We might watch it later. Who knows? But El Camino, I didn't see this when it came out. I remember like when it came out, it kind of got hype again, like, Breaking Bad and everything. I remember my family had watched it. I just like didn't really give a shit. Like, honestly, I was just like,
6 years had passed, That's a long time. I don't know if I'm going out on a limb or not, or if this is a controversial opinion, but I think that El Camino is probably the weakest Breaking Bad related content that there is between the two shows. And I don't know how you feel about that.
I just watched it today, and I liked it. I mean, I thought it was true to its roots. Something that I think it did well, and I think it reminded me a lot of Better Call Saul, was just the cutting away, using flashbacks to like move a scene forward into what's happening currently. That was really nice. Jesse, to me, felt like a forgotten character in Breaking Bad, and obviously like the way the show ends and stuff, and it literally takes off right after the events. And so like that was nice to like have his story wrapped up. To me, I thought it like I immediately I'm like, oh, I know where we're at. Like, here we go. I think it did a good job of wrapping his character up, like especially like with his parents and like the gang shit. Watching him basically have PTSD for like a 20-30 minutes into the first part of the film and everything. That was cool. His character seems like he has like he's had to mature so much, and it's tough. Like Jesse's like, it's this tragic character.
He really is. And I think it's easy to forget about like his character arc in Breaking Bad, because in that show he was kind of like weak-willed. He was more of like a chess piece for other characters to manipulate. It doesn't feel like it takes up until this movie for him to like take things into his own hands. Like, he's the one coming up with the smart plans. He's the one that's being methodical, and
because everyone else is dead.
Yeah, just about everybody.
Yeah,
every important character besides like the White family and Marie. Yeah, let's get into it, man. This will be interesting, because I do think that I have like criticisms, because I find it to be a perfectly good and acceptable epilogue that wasn't totally necessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, first off, something I liked, let's start off on a positive note. The way the show, the film, jeez, it does feel like, first off, let me just say, it does feel like a long episode.
Yeah, it's not very movie-like. Besides, like, the quality of the cinematography is better than it was 6 years prior.
How does it open up? I know he ends up in the car, but there's a scene. Okay, he talks to Mike.
Yeah, it's a flashback. It's probably somewhere like in the middle of the 5th season, I think. It's actually like right before Mike dies, if I'm assuming right. Jesse and Mike are talking about Jesse wants out of the dope game, and Mike asks him where he wants to go, and they're talking about like going to Alaska, and that's kind of setting up your destination. Like, that's like your MacGuffin for the movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Really, it cuts straight to the last second of Breaking Bad's finale, and then you're just continuing that story right there.
It doesn't show like him and Walt talking.
Who, Jesse and
it doesn't start out like it doesn't use any of the clips from the show.
No, nothing.
Like where Walt dies and shit.
Nothing is being reused here.
So it's literally him in the car driving away from that compound, wherever the fuck it is. It kind of had, I'm trying to think of a movie that would be applicable. It's just like, you're just like, like Good Time. That's what I'm looking for. It's like Good Time. Like, we're kind of like just thrusted into the chaos really fast.
Just straight adrenaline right away.
I thought like him driving the car and like yelling and shit. I'm like, yeah, it's about to go down. And he goes to old Skinny Pete, and what's his name? Badger. Takes the car there and everything. And
there's some really nice editing right here between Jesse driving the car, and there's a hard cut to like a first person view of someone driving a car, and then like it might make you think like, oh, this is like really bad CGI.
That's what I thought at first. I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
It turns out Skinny Pete and Badger are playing like Grand Theft Auto or something.
Yeah, they're playing a racing game or some shit. Yeah, at first I was like, oh, it's like a head or like a front hood shot or something, and then I was like, wait, what the fuck? And I was like, look, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, really nice.
Huge tonal shift from scene to scene right here too. You know, going from exasperated Jesse to Skinny Pete and Badger like antics of throwing bad insults at each other.
It has like the feel of 40-Year-Old Virgin with Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen talking shit to not Seth Rogen.
It's like improv type stuff.
Who it's Paul Rudd and who? Is it Seth Rogen?
Seth Rogen's in 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah. They're talking. Remember they talk shit when they're playing games or some shit. It was like kind of like that scene.
Like, I bet you like Coldplay.
Yeah. That was cool. Looks like they've been using their drug money well. Like they have like a nice chairs and shit. They're like the untouched characters of like Walt's bullshit throughout Breaking Bad. Like they're kind of just like the same old dudes. They never really had like anything in their lives fucked up.
Yeah. They're super like immature characters.
For sure.
Like grown men that just act like children.
Something I couldn't help think about is Skinny Pete. I don't really know that actor's history or anything, but he looks like somebody on meth.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know if he lives that life, but he's a very rugged individual, to say the least. Like that skinny fit guy that works construction, and like he looks like he's always covered in dirt, but somehow I'm pretty sure that's just his natural complexion.
I think the actor that plays him is like 50.
Okay. Maybe that's why, because he looks like a young dude that's on meth.
Yeah, he does. Skinny Pete and Badger both have that mid-2000s style clothes-wise, where they like, well, at least Badger does, where he like wears like an extra large t-shirt when he could probably fit into like a medium or large.
It's got that streetwear.
That Soldier Boy look from the early or mid-2000s, I guess.
Skinny Pete's got like that early alt scene look.
Yeah.
Like that Blink 182 shit. Like I wear a black beanie and a leather jacket and black pants or some shit.
And the beanie has to be pulled all the way down
to your eyebrows.
Yes. It's ridiculous.
He removes his toboggan and gives it to Jesse. Have you ever seen his hair before that? Because it was fucking weird.
Not that I can remember.
It was really weird to see that. I couldn't help but think like, I don't think I've ever seen this man take his hat off before. And he has like a full head of hair. And I'm pretty sure it was a wig or some sort. It like was dyed very, very apparently. When
Jesse shows up at their house, I feel like you get some of the most emotionally resonant scenes, like of this film at least, where he comes in and like Skinny Pete and Badger don't even recognize him because his like hair's long, his beard has grown like really ragged. Like he comes in and he's like immediately raiding their cabinets because he hasn't been fed by the Nazi biker group that held him captive. I feel like they really showcase how terrifying his experience was, because here's another nice editing trick they did. When he hops into the shower, it shows him like the water pouring down his back. Then you get a hard cut to him at the compound where he was held prisoner, and they're like spraying him with a water hose,
like a pressure washer almost.
Yeah, like it's nearly a perfect cut, like composition wise. It was really nice.
Yes,
I liked that.
I also found it subtle but really wise as far as like to show you his mindset is he keeps the gun in the shower. They really brush up on this really fast. I mean, obviously, I know it was something that was apparent in Breaking Bad. It doesn't really get really expanded upon too much in the film, except for like these first 30 minutes or whatever. But he's become very animalistic. He's been dehumanized by this experience. And I thought like little things like that where, you know, he's keeping the gun in the shower. Like he's a scared animal. Like he needs protection. He can't even trust his friends or whatever. Then he like falls asleep. And when he wakes up, he immediately like doesn't even really know where he's at, and like he starts trying to escape. That was really intense.
When he's in the bed looking up at the ceiling, like he even visualizes. Is that the word?
Visualizes.
He visualizes the top of the cage that he stayed in
with a tarp over it.
I thought that was another nice little visual trick that they did. And it comes into play where you get a flashback where he's like back in the cage, and it's to that exact moment where Todd comes and gets him. I'm not sure if I'm jumping too far ahead right here.
You might be. It's okay.
When he's at Skinny Pete's house, he comes up with the plan. He remembers that there's money at Todd's house. And the movie doesn't tell you this. This is kind of a thing that Better Call Saul does, where your main character kind of like hatches a plan, but the show's not telling you what it is. You're just seeing it come together.
Slowly the pieces start building up as like the episode goes on in Better Call Saul, where you see them take that first initiative, you get a cut, and then you get the information of, oh, this is why you're here. And then you get a cut back to the character doing that activity, and then yada, yada, yada. But yes, this is something that reminded me perfectly of that. And we're jumping ahead a little bit, but they really help him out. They really help Jesse out. And they probably haven't seen Jesse in like forever. Skinny Pete's like, Jesse's asking, why are you doing this? And he's like, you're like my hero, man. Like, that was really corny, but it's believable for his character. Like very immature, like can't really like come down and be open about it, but he's like, man, you my hero, like, and that's it. That's all he has to say.
You notice that he doesn't look him in the eyes when he says that. Like, it kind of goes with what you just said.
And yeah, so they really like, I thought like, damn, even though like it's super illegal, they like bail one of the cars. They're like, you're gonna drive this car near the border and you're gonna let it go, and the cops are gonna be here. They had the junkyard guy come and like get the vehicle, but they like turned a tracker on the vehicle or something, and like that's what he was scanning for, and he dips. That was really nice to see. Like his friends, like, we're gonna go dump this car, my car. I'm gonna dump my car near the border, and then you're gonna keep this car here. And when the cops show up, I'm gonna say that you showed up and we smoked a bowl and then talked shit and you bailed. But that's all I'm gonna say. And then you're gonna take my car. And I was like, that's pretty badass.
Were you confused by the tracker thing going off, like in a logistical sense? Because I was too. I wasn't necessarily sure how this works.
I don't know.
I mean, I guess it doesn't really need to be asked that much, but like rewatching it for the first time since it came out in 2019, I remember being confused back then too, but I don't understand, like, are there trackers on cars like that? Yeah, I don't understand this.
Like,
really.
is it something with the gang?
Because I know the car is Todd's, and like they had probably just found his body the day before and like, you know, put two and two together. But I didn't know they could, like, oh, like we know where the car is and we're like going to come to that location right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It might have just been a plot device.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure if it works like that in real life.
Quite literally. That's where he starts like going to Todd's and shit.
Yeah.
And this is where you start getting your cutaways and everything. And you know, you get like the antics of him like listening to like the news and talking about like it's like a fugitive thing where he's listening to the news talk about how he's on the run, and they're talking about Mr. White and like this gang and all these things. And so he ends up going to Todd's. This was fucking cool. First off, it's littered with like 20 minutes of just, he shows up at this apartment, and this is really nice editing, and this is where you start to get the...
It's hard to talk about it because you have two consecutive storylines taking place at the same location at the same time.
Before he drives to Todd's, you do get like the Todd backstory and everything of him. Like they're going to get the top cover, they're going to Todd's apartment and all that bullshit. Like Todd's talking to him, he gives him a cigarette. It's just him and Todd for the weekend because they took he took the gang, like Uncle Jack took the gang out wherever the fuck for the weekend. So it's just you and I here. He's like, I gotta lay down some ground rules. Like if you try to run away, I gotta tell Jack, and he ain't gonna like that. And so just be on your best behavior.
They're using Brock, the little boy, was the son of a woman I can't remember the name of at the moment.
They kill her though, right?
Yeah, it's like Jesse's girlfriend in season 4 and 5. But they use that as a way to keep Jesse like on a chain, literally and figuratively, where even if he does escape, they're going to go pay the little boy a visit and kill him. You know, terrible in theory.
It's awful.
In practice. In every way, really.
Yeah, so you're getting those cuts, and like you can kind of tell Todd cares about Jesse in a way.
He treats him like a pet.
It's like, I'm not saying like he does it well, but he tries his best to like give Jesse some slack. You know, he basically lets him off his change, undoes his handcuffs, and gives him a cigarette, and he needs him to come help him with a few things. Man, he's a fucked up character.
I hate him so bad.
What's his name?
Jesse Plemons.
He's in quite a bit. His acting career has taken off a lot in the last few years. Power of Dog.
Yeah, we were talking about this upstairs before we recorded.
He plays Jake in I'm Thinking of Ending Things. He also plays a creepy fuck in that movie as well.
Yes, he does. I think he was in The Irishman, too, which I was going to ask you this. It's kind of related to that. Did you find his weight gain really distracting?
Yeah.
Like a whole lot?
Yeah. I had it was a little bit of a continuity error.
Big time. Like, I know Jesse and stuff is like a lot older in this movie than he was before. Like, you know, Jesse, his head is like bigger than it used to be. But like Todd, Jesse Plemons' character, he's like 250 pounds in this, and he was a skinny little fuck in the TV show.
He was like a fitter young man in the TV show.
He had to gain weight for playing in The Irishman. And I guess when you're up for a role in a Martin Scorsese movie, you don't say no.
Yeah.
And I heard that he wasn't really willing to come back to Breaking Bad to do this because he thought it would be too distracting. But Vince Gilligan told him, well, the movie is from Jesse's point of view, so maybe he sees Todd as like more disgusting. I know that's like, it's kind of stupid.
Kind of a reach, yeah.
Yeah, but they tried, I guess. Like, they tried.
I found it distracting at the beginning. Like, at first, like, it's something I really focused on, especially like in the cage and everything. But then after that, I kind of let it go.
Yeah, you get used to it.
Yeah. So Jesse, after he's basically out on the loose, running away from the cops again, and you know, when he goes back to the apartment, this is really nice editing here, and it really threw me off for a second. There's police tape on the apartment. Jesse is literally hiding. It's like the door frame. He's hiding in the door frame with the door shut. It's like a little bit thicker, probably like a foot or two. But he's like hiding from an older man on the floor itself. And the guy's like going out there to like spray the plants down. You can see the composition. He starts all the way at the other end of the hall and he's spraying these plants. And you know that Jesse has to get in here because there's a plant right next to the door. And so Jesse has like a specific amount of time to get through the door. And he has to be quiet. You know, you can't, it's a police tape and the guy's this fucking loudmouth. As we find out, this guy likes to talk.
He's a super nosy neighbor.
That's really nice because as soon as he goes through the door, like he's walking in Todd's apartment in the past.
Yeah.
Really nice editing.
I liked how the scene of him trying to get into the apartment was one really long take. And you know that like on set, they probably had to direct the old man coming up to like time it perfectly. Like, I feel like there had to have been a lot of work put into that.
Yeah.
To where he shows up at the last second before Jesse closes the tape and the door. It's a nice tension-filled moment.
Almost has like a Birdman feel. That long shot, long take.
You know I'm a fan of the long takes.
I think there's something to be said with certain shots like that. Like, this movie is pretty bare bones as far like there isn't like CGI or special effects or anything besides like practical explosions and blood squibs and people dying and shit. But
there's really not a whole lot of plot either. It is a very, very loose movie, like a small idea being stretched out for 2 hours, which is a little bit of a critique for me.
Really?
A little bit. I feel like they kind of stretched it too far.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like a long episode.
I mean, it's padded out with so many flashbacks.
Yeah.
And I'm not like trying to be a hater or anything because I do think this is a good movie, but it was a little too much.
I don't really know what you could do otherwise though to show like this story being told.
Yeah, you might be right.
It's difficult. I mean, I guess like you could do like a TV special like or something like that, but I mean, it's nice to have like that budget of like a film to say. I like the scenes in Todd's apartment, you know. At first, like, I started to trust Todd.
Oh, man, for 2 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, wait, no, there's a woman dead on the floor.
Todd is such a disgusting character, but he's, like, super interesting because his, like, regular demeanor is very childlike. He talks to Jesse like they're kids and they're, like, buddies or something. Yeah. Like, hey, man, thought about painting the inside of the apartment this certain color. And you know, Jesse's like, shut the fuck up. Like, I hate you.
It's a nice apartment, though.
It is. I was looking at that countertop setup, and I was like, yeah, I kind of want that. Hey, we're getting old, man. That's nice drywall right there.
We can appreciate the layout of your kitchen.
The layout of this sociopath's house.
Yeah, like Todd killed a kid, you know, in Breaking Bad, so he's not a good guy.
We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but you didn't really remember Todd.
Nah,
like, dude, in like just regular conversation.
I fucking forgot about him.
He's only in season 5.
Dude, I forget a lot of like the back half. I remember like the big, obviously, you know, the domestic violence shit and all that with second to last episode and everything. And like, I remember the ending of the show, but I forgot about a lot between seasons like 5 and 6. Like, I just forgot about a lot of it. Because maybe I watched the last 2 seasons really fast or something. But I remember like a lot of like the first, you know, the beginning seasons and stuff, but I had like completely forgotten about a lot of the back half of the seasons. I mean, it's been a long time. But yeah, Todd's a really fucked up dude. Something that really disgusted the shit out of me, after they put her in the rug and they toss her over, they just fucking toss the dead body over the railing of the apartment into the parking lot. And I'm like, oh, for sure, like broken limbs on that dead body and stuff. Just
the thud of it hitting the pavement. I was pretty disgusted. There's two big things, really. And it happens before they throw the body over.
The bean soup?
The soup. I don't know if the movie is trying to be meta, like talking about Todd's weight gain, because like half of his lines are about food.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
I didn't know.
They're hanging out in the kitchen and there's like a dead woman on the floor. And Todd is just like, hey, Jesse, you hungry? Like, I got clam chowder, chicken and cream, bean and bacon. Hey, well, only one left. Like,
yeah.
It's like the darkest of humor. It's that signature dark humor from this series that I really enjoy. But the other big disgusting thing is Todd choked out the woman with a belt. He makes sure to get that belt back.
Ugh.
Pisses me off, dude.
Fucking weird.
Now, this is a nice parallel between Breaking Bad and this movie. At the end of Breaking Bad, Jesse choked out Todd with a chain the exact same way that he choked out his housemaid with the belt. Thought that was kind of cool.
Kind of meta for the universe of Breaking Bad.
I'd say so.
While we're on the topic of the universe that this takes in, okay, and I've noticed a few things in Better Call Saul. One time, Saul tells Walt he had a woman believe that he was Kevin Costner. And he fucks that girl with his his old buddy back at it, like their old bachelor pad. And she wakes up and realizes that he's not Kevin Costner. He's like, well, I was last night, baby. And I'm like, little things like that.
It's such a throwaway joke too to bring back up.
And then I'll be lucky if I'm a manager at a Cinnabon in like Omaha or whatever the fuck, or Utah. And yeah, he is. Like
Literally, that's what he does.
So. Yeah, little things like that. I thought that was pretty great. One thing I really want to talk about is Jesse like had the opportunity to kill Todd when they go to bury the maid. All over some fucking pepperoni pizza.
This is a great scene. Todd asks Jesse to go get cigarettes from like the
glove box.
The glove box. And when he goes in there, Todd must be like a fucking idiot to forget that there's a gun in there. Mm-hmm. But it's a really emotional scene where these two are facing off with each other. Jesse's got the gun and he can't do anything. He can't kill Todd, even though he really, really wants to. There's like this power dynamic. Even if Jesse does exact revenge on him, Todd's Uncle Jack and the Nazi biker gang, like they're just going to go kill Brock anyways. Mm-hmm. So Todd asked Jesse, like, hey, we can go get some pizza in a 6-pack. Like, what kind of toppings do you like? Like when Jesse gives the line pepperoni and like tears start streaming down his face, it's super heartbreaking.
So small thing.
A very small thing, but a huge impact.
To show you like Jesse's mindset. Yeah, he has no power. He's a dehumanized, like they've turned him into an animal that cooks meth. That's something that's really tragic to me. That whole situation is just awful. He knows how to make Mr. White's perfect blue meth, and they're going to make sure that he makes it for them. And it's just like, that's awful. Oh, it's terrible.
And the way they cap off the scene, really everything that Todd says pisses me off a whole lot, but they end the scene where Todd is trying to be buddy-buddy with him again, and he says, look at that view. You know, Uncle Jack always says, life is what you make it. And it's easy for him to say, compared to Jesse's situation. Like, it just makes me feel dirty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Makes you feel bad. I really love the tearing apart of the apartment.
This is great. This reminds me of Better Call Saul. Mm-hmm. This is that methodical planning stuff that I think makes that series so great.
Because we learn that Todd kills the maid because she found the money he stashes in his encyclopedia collection. All the pages are cut out and it's just a way to hold money. And she found it, so he kills her. Todd's like, I really didn't want to kill her. She's such a nice lady, but, you know, can't have her find it. He's like, and he talks about, you know, I mean, I've been talking to Uncle Jack and we're looking at a way to hide it in a way that no one would ever find it. It's going to take some engineering, but it'll be the perfect hiding space. And so that's why Jesse's back there. He's going to find the money. He tears apart the apartment and almost has like this montage. I freaking love like the over the top shot of like the floor plan.
I'm glad you brought this up.
And like the flashlight and like it's basically like there's 7 Jessies looking around the apartment.
It looked like you were like looking down into a dollhouse almost. And it kind of makes me wonder, how did they get this shot? Because when you get the interior shots of the apartment, you see ceilings.
It might be CG.
I think so.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. It's probably only like 3 or 4 seconds, and it's dark. Like it's dark and it's lit by flashlight, and like Jesse's on tiny scale. You know, no bigger than an inch on the screen. It's probably CG. you wouldn't be able to like film this practically without building a humongous set. So I'm pretty sure it is like computer generated. Does the camera turn?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like pounding up against the wall, and then like the camera kind of turns to make it look like he's like standing like
Sideways.
like defying gravity almost.
I almost forgot about that.
That was really cool.
He's literally, it's a police scene, so he can't like just turn the lights on. So he's like using a Bic like cigarette, like a Bic lighter, you know, that you'd use for cigarettes, a little handheld lighter. And then he finds a flashlight underneath the sink. And so you kind of just get to see Jesse progress throughout the house. He's like, he literally tears apart everything. After he finds the money, which I knew as soon as he hit his head against the wall, there's the money. Because it falls, and like I knew it was coming before the sound even cued. Yeah, though the money's in the fridge.
Is this another Todd Fat joke?
Probably.
It's the only place he could hide the money, where the food goes. This was kind of a trope in Breaking Bad and in Better Call Saul, where characters will look for things or like are trying to discover like whatever plot device they need to like move the story forward. And then just as soon as they give up, a stroke of luck will happen and they will find something. This happens with the gas cap scene with Mike. He doesn't discover the gas cap thing until he's already given up. With Hank finding the book on the back of the toilet. I can't tell if this is like a bad thing or not. Like my fandom of Breaking Bad and this universe like makes me not want to critique it because I love it so much. But it is kind of like...
It's a trope for this.
They resort to luck to like pulling the story forward a lot. But I'm okay with it.
It helps create tension for the viewer as well. Even though it might be like kind of a cop-out in a way, like plot-wise. Adding that sense of luck, coincidence, all of a sudden at the very end of like a scene. I can't tell if it's like poor writing or just a way to like lengthen what otherwise could be a very monotonous, unshowed scene, or just doing more with little, help creating stakes in a way that is simple in practice. I don't know if it's a bad thing. It just kind of is what it is. Maybe it's just something that Vince Gilligan needs to get away from doing.
They bring it up in Breaking Bad, like quite literally in dialogue at some point where someone, I can't remember what the context is or what characters are saying it, but someone is talking about Walt and they say like, you have to be smarter than him and you have to be luckier than him because he's like the luckiest man. Like he always escapes by like the skin of his teeth. Like something coincidental happens that like saves his fucking ass every time. I don't want to keep like dipping into the Breaking Bad jar, bringing up references, although this movie is heavily indebted to those tropes. In Breaking Bad, Walter, like when he kills people, he takes up their characteristics going forward. And these are like small details that like you may not remember because you haven't watched the show in a while. But I could see this being like a nod to like Jesse maybe picking up the characteristics of Walt, becoming lucky. You know, like in an RPG game where you like take all your points and put it into luck. That happened to Jesse. He got the boost because Walt died.
Like we talking about like killing Tuco, becoming more of a crime lord. Is that what you mean? Like,
well, when
he's inheriting the traits of the people he kills.
Here's an example. In the first season, Walt has to kill this guy named Crazy 8.
Kills him, chokes him out on the pole.
Yes. When Walt has him like chained up, I think like Crazy 8 requests that he gets like the crust cut off of his sandwich. And then like anytime that it shows Walt making a sandwich from that point forward, like Walt cuts the crust off his sandwiches. Like it's really small things like that.
Okay.
I think he takes up some characteristics of Gus Fring that I can't remember, but that is a thing that happens like in this universe, I suppose.
Hopping back into the movie itself, I almost called it the show. Jesus. From here we move on to the faux police officers.
This is my second favorite scene of the entire movie.
Freaking Jesse kind of becomes a badass here. And for one reason of, he doesn't want to kill these cops, and he doesn't know they're cops. They're not cops yet. They're here for the same reason he is, and that's to get the cash.
But we, the viewer, don't know that yet, necessarily.
Until we get like our standoff between the two characters. And I think this is really great because you can tell like Jesse has never really wanted to kill anybody. If you really think about it in the context of the show, like Jesse was just like a nobody dropout bum that got wrapped up in like this super serious cartel shit. And he wanted out for a long time. And he just like kept getting wrapped up in this bullshit. He still doesn't want to kill these cops. He has their standoff, and this is pretty badass. He takes the other cop, quote unquote, gun. At first you're thinking like, oh, this buddy cop, they like have code for like when I'm in trouble. He calls him lieutenant, and it's like my best friend ain't gonna call me lieutenant.
Yeah, there's a big tone change when he says that too. That eerie Breaking Bad style music comes in as soon as that dialogue is spoken. I'm glad you caught this.
It was like real small. It's weird when I call you Alex. It's weird to your ears if I say, "Hey, Alex."
Yeah.
You're like, huh? Who? I call you Getter. And it's like, if I say, "Hey, Alex," you're like, you always say, "I'm not used to you calling me that." And I'm like, yeah, I don't know why I did that. It feels weird. It's the same thing with like, in my head, before you get the realization that these two are not actually cops, he calls him lieutenant. To me, it's just like, you immediately know the shift, and it's so subtle, and I really want to commend the actor himself for, like, it's very slight, and obviously I'm pretty sure the music plays into that, and the way he like slowly starts moving into, like, you can almost see the inner workings of his brain trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, like, oh, he's in trouble, something's going on back there. Like, being able to hear the audio of the other fake cop being like, yeah, come in here, I found something. You know, it's real small and subtle, but it works really well. I didn't know. I don't remember this guy. Was this shown?
He was never in Breaking Bad.
I was going to say, like, okay.
This is something I'll bring up in a few minutes as a critique, but we can continue with this scene.
I really like this little Mexican standoff. Jesse, like, gives up really fast.
He thinks he has no choice.
Yeah. But one thing that I immediately started recognizing was, oh, these aren't, like, something's off here, is when they say, how many cops do you think we got down there? What do you think? And I forget what he calls his partner, but at least 6. He's like, I counted 8. And it's like, you would know how many of your fellow. So I was like, something's off there. At first I thought, like, the cops themselves, like, it's definitely just them two there, but they're trying to talk Jesse down. In reality, you just realize that they're just bullshitting because they're not real cops. It happens really fast. I mean, like, this is in a minute and a half, like, all this takes place. There's a lot of, like, different small tonal shifts and, like, information that you're being, like, given to slowly and figuring out for yourself. You're, like, getting to figure out things as the characters move through this scene.
Yes.
It's really fast, but it's really well done. Yeah, they fucking... Jesse's like, where's the fucking handcuffs? So they tie him up with fucking...
like a rope.
Yeah, or like a extension cord or whatever.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's really nice. Great scene. But Jesse gets the upper hand when he says that, you know, I know where the money is. And then the old nosy neighbor comes knocking in, man. Yeah, it's pretty...
When he just knocked
timing.
there, I thought that Willow upstairs would start going crazy. I was kind of bracing myself for it.
That's great.
I love that they do the quick throwaway cut to the one fake cop in the apartment with the nosy neighbor. And it's like just such a nothing line, but I laughed at it, where the neighbor says, like, ever since I got this Brita filter, the tea is really good. Yeah. And, like, that's all the scene is.
Yeah.
Like, I cracked up for, like, no reason right there.
It's great. That is such old people talk. Jesse really gets the upper hand here because the guy won't kill him.
I feel like this is something that Jesse learned from Walt. Being able to talk your way out of a life or death situation like this. Because Jesse never really got this opportunity in the show itself. But he knows that if you shoot me right here, that neighbor's going to know, like, everybody in the fucking apartment complex is going to know. So, like, I'm going to take the money, and, like, there's nothing you can do about it.
I'll take my half.
You're getting that baller version of Jesse now.
Yeah, good character development right there.
They leave the apartment complex after this, and this is a critique I have. Jesse realizes that this one cop, the fake cop, he, like, recognizes his name on the side of his work van.
It's like a welding company, like Candy, like Kandy, I believe.
Yeah. I think his name is Neil Candy. And I think this is one of the weaker parts of this film, is that all of the great antagonists from Breaking Bad are dead. So they had to, like, make one up. And they give you kind of a flashback about this Neil guy. Like, he was the welder that created the little device that kept Jesse on a chain.
He created the scaffolding, basically, for Jesse's meth lab that he was chained up to.
Yeah. And you get, like, a short scene where this guy is, like, betting money on, like, Jesse not being able to break it. And it's really sad, actually, watching Jesse, like, run back and forth just for entertainment for these monsters, basically. But considering this is a movie and you're not getting 1 or 2 seasons worth of build-up for this guy, it doesn't really feel like he's a very good foe. His character didn't have much impact for me. Like, it's just like the movie is saying, like, oh, hey, there was this one guy that we never showed you, but he was there, trust us. And I thought that was kind of weak.
Yeah, no, I definitely can agree. Like, for a second, I was like, oh, this is somebody I forgot about.
I mean, he was a prick.
Yeah.
And, like, he probably should have died. But, like, it didn't have that same nuance as the series is known for.
I mean, I can understand your critique with that, and I definitely think it is kind of weak. And yeah, you do have to set up an antagonist. And it becomes more important, obviously, as we move forward. And I guess it kind of shows, like, oh, Jesse still has to deal with, like, this PTSD and stuff. But he, like, goes to the vacuum shop.
My
First
favorite
off,
scene.
Where on earth is there a vacuum shop ever? Anywhere? Have you ever seen one? A store that strictly sells vacuums?
I can't say I have.
Okay, thank you. That's my critique. There's no such thing as a vacuum store. It's all fake.
But where do all the people get their vacuums from?
Target.
Walmart.
Well,
Sears.
Walmart. Sears. Jesus Christ.
We used to have one of those in town.
Back in the day.
It's not there no more.
Goddamn Amazon.
Fuck you, Jeff Bezos.
Fuck you. Hey, man. For every Amazon, there was 10 Amazons that didn't become Amazon.
That's true.
You gotta give it to the man. Everybody hates him now, but if you hate him so much, stop using Amazon. Anyway,
The visit to the vacuum store.
the visit. Yeah. Sorry, no current political fucking. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, this is a great scene. This is the guy that gets people off the grid.
This character didn't really appear very often in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, he was like in the last few episodes.
It's kind of funny because he's portrayed by like a great actor. Robert Forster. A lot of people may know him as he played Max Cherry in Jackie Brown. He's like the second main character in that movie, and he's great. He's fucking great.
He's got strong eyebrows.
Very strong eyebrows. It's funny because Jesse comes into this scene and the cleaner guy, figuratively and literally, is like talking to a customer, and he's got his customer voice on, customer service voice. We all know how that is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great comedy scene with Jesse coming up to the counter and like he doesn't remember the code word that they use. It's usually like, I need a Hoover Max something with the dust filter. And he's like kind of stumbling his way through it. But then he just gives up and says like, I know you're the guy. Like, just fucking tell me. It's a great exchange.
Now, this is something I really miss, and I think it was something that happened in the series, but did Jesse like bail?
Yeah, so the context on this is Jesse was out of the game. Like, he was ready to disappear. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but when in Breaking Bad, do you remember Brock, the little boy, being poisoned?
Niacin.
Huh?
Yeah, the Niacin cigarette.
The ricin cigarette.
Ricin, sorry.
Close.
Niacin is like a mineral or something that's in a lot of things.
Yeah, I think it's good for you. Ricin will kill you. At least that's what the show tells us.
Like
but
when you rice out your car, turn it into a little Honda mobile that right? Oh, different, sorry.
When Jesse is ready to like be picked up, he realizes that the ricin cigarette was pickpocketed off of him to convince him to like hate Gus Fring and Mike and all them. Mm-hmm. And so that's why he bails. So that's why Robert Force's character thinks that Jesse owes him that first $125K. And this is like a really stingy thing.
Yeah.
And I understand, like, this is the price of business.
This is the principle, bro.
He's $1,800 short, but you better go get those extra $1,800.
To me, it just feels like a way to add the action.
This scene actually felt the most Breaking Bad-like to me.
Yeah.
Like, as far as, like, pacing and humor and, like, just the way it's shot, like, the exchange between these two characters. And I think it's really nice that you get this long, drawn-out scene with this Breaking Bad character that was, like, kind of a bit character.
A throwaway character, yeah.
Yeah.
Plot device character.
You get a lot of humor from the fact that this guy wants Jesse out of his store, and he calls 911, and, like, Jesse thinks that he's lying about it. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, you're getting this shot of Jesse talking, saying like, yeah, like, I know you didn't call 911 because you just can't hang up. Like, they'll call you back. Mm-hmm. And as he's ranting, you see the cop car pull up
through the glass doors behind Jesse.
This is fucking hilarious to me.
At least he was given the benefit, like, he was helping him out. He's like, take your fucking money. Like, get your money.
Yeah. Like, he knew it was the right amount of motivation to get him out of his store at that moment, but he wasn't going to rat him out.
No.
You know?
No, he definitely gives him some leadway. He gives like a total like faux description. Says it's like a guy that's like 6'6", real skinny young guy, had a insect tattoo above his eye.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. No, it was a good way to move the story forward, though. I mean, it could have ended like if the guy was like, yeah, okay, $1,800, like whatever, and like we end up at the final scene or whatever.
Credits roll.
But he goes back, and well, don't want to cut too far ahead. He calls his parents.
Yeah, because he saw him on TV earlier, talking about him.
You know, I think him seeing his parents on TV, you know, he sees it through the window when he's tearing apart the apartment, unlike a neighbor's apart, like a building across the street. Someone's watching the news and he sees his parents, so he turns on the TV in Todd's apartment. It shows that his parents, they didn't say "I love you," like they said, if there's anything you could say to your son now, what would you tell them? And like, just turn yourself in, like, to, you know, make it easy for, you know. So they didn't say, "We love you, Jesse," like, "Please come home." They were like, nah, they don't have that in their hearts anymore.
That's how they are in Breaking Bad too, even early on before they know. Like, I want to say they're like shitheads, but realistically, like, I feel like this is a realistic reaction to this type of person. Yeah. Like if your son becomes that, like you kind of want him out of your life. Yeah,
for sure. It's just sad for Jesse's character. And so he calls his parents and like, kind of gives a spiel and like he does tell them like, you know, I just want you to know, like, you guys did your best, and this isn't your fault. Everything I did was on me. He said, but do you remember that place we used to go for picnic with ducks in the pond? You guys care to come pick me up? And at first I was like, why the fuck would you do that, Jesse?
It's that slow burn planning, man.
Yeah, man, he's fucking sneaks into his parents' house. I thought this was pretty cool. Like, you know, you get to see the other cops, like the unmarked police cars, like pull out with their parents.
Yeah.
Because, like, they have those lines tapped already, you know. And every time Jesse makes a phone call, he pulls the battery out, you know, and this time he breaks the phone. Yeah, man, he, like, gets the extra key under the brick outside, and he goes in there, and I thought he was going to steal money.
That's what I thought, too. Even on my rewatch, I thought that.
The welding guy takes his gun. So he goes and gets a gun out of his father's safe. It's like these really old, shitty-ass guns. Yeah, he gets the gun, and then he goes back to the welding place. I thought this was a really cool setup.
It was.
They buy hookers.
Did you notice that when the hookers show up in that, like, Hummer, the big guy, the real big guy, he's like the bodyguard, he appeared in Better Call Saul.
Really?
Do you remember Price, the balding pharmacist guy that illegally sells pills?
Yeah. Is he the guy that the three of them are supposed to be there with Mike and he runs away?
Yes.
After, like, Mike, like, breaks that guy's nose and shit?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Like, in the credits, his name is, like, Man Mountain. Like, he doesn't even get a real name.
Man Mountain. Nice.
He's
a big dude.
He's a tough guy here, though. Well, no, not really, actually. He falls asleep in the Hummer and, like, isn't even present. He ain't there to protect him. But, yes, Jesse, like, sneaks into this compound and kind of waits it out till the hookers leave.
I thought the interplay with the hookers was funny because, like, you can tell that these dudes are just fucking idiots. One of them's, like, on their knees, like, begging what's her name not to go. I don't remember her name, but it's like, oh, dude, you're fucking pitiful. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I think one of them says, like, I'll see you next week. And she's like, in your dreams.
I do have a criticism, though.
Go for it.
Why the fuck does this guy want to do a Mexican standoff, like Wild West bullshit?
I wondered the same thing, actually. The only thing I can think of is that literally right before Jesse walks in,
they're coked the fuck up.
He just finished sniffing up a line of coke.
Yeah. That's what I kind of was getting at, too.
And he's already the criminal type, and they all hate Jesse. Because I don't know if you caught on to this, but in Breaking Bad, here I am doing this again.
Pulling in the Breaking Bad jar, yes.
Yes. All these guys hate Jesse in particular because Jesse was a rat. He went to Hank, he made a confession tape, and he named Todd in the confession tape. So, like, these guys, they're part of the crew. You know, they have an automatic hate for him. They don't want to give him the $1,800. They don't want to see him walk away. Like, they think they're better than him. So he's like, we'll do this standoff. Like, I'm going to win. And, like, that's the end of the story. That's all I can really think of.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, the logic of it.
It's like, you guys could just kill him. Like, you don't have to do some Mexican standoff. Even, like, the other thuggy welder guys are like, come on, man. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
They're like, shut up. I'll do what I want. And I was like, okay. I think the writing for them was like that kind of creates the thought in your head of, as a viewer, like, yeah, like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? I wouldn't, like, write that in to, like, give your viewer a sense of doubt. Like, try to sell it a little bit more, but it wasn't bad. I mean, it was cool. He kills him.
Unless the dude's just cocky and like that's just his character trait, but still, it's kind of a stretch. It is a very cool standoff scene. It kind of brings in the Western influence. You're getting this neo-Western thing. And I know like Vince Gilligan said that he always wanted to make a Western, so he kind of like threw that in here, you know, outlaw on the run.
And I can see it like littered throughout Breaking Bad as well, like set in like New Mexico or wherever the fuck. It's has Wild West drug cartel feel. Yeah, Jesse shoots him with another gun.
He did the smart thing again.
Shoots him through like his coat pocket. Doesn't reach for the gun in his waistband. He has a gun in his jacket pocket. That was badass.
Yeah, and it happens really fast, too. It does not dwell on it. And I think the fact that he cheated kind of sets off the other guy. Although maybe the other guy would have like...
He would have done it anyway.
Yeah, he's kind of a shithead. I've seen complaints online saying that this shoot-off between him and the red-haired guy is like really unrealistic. And I don't agree. I think that considering... I mean, like, in real life, people are inaccurate. And like they're standing and they're like walking around while shooting.
You could be like 6 feet away and still miss. Especially when you're like... Your reflexes, your eyes are closing, you're ducking and dipping, and you're pointing your gun a certain way. Like, unless you're a trained police officer or military, first off, you would never just shoot at somebody like this. And even in cop videos, like when cops have to open fire against like, you know, gang members or, you know, obviously like in a shootout, cops are not always accurate. And like they can fire off clips and clips of rounds and you can still miss. And then they'll duck to cover behind a car or, you know, or whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
And like, or you may get hit, but it may not be a lethal hit or what, you know what I mean? Like it is very realistic. I didn't pull me out of the...
No, I thought it's probably one of the more realistic shootout things I've seen in a movie.
It's what happens. Yeah, man, human error. Like, these people aren't like fucking, don't have aimbot. Like, they're not just gonna fucking...
Yeah, and the one guy is coked up and drunk as well. I saw people making comparisons to like stormtroopers, like how bad they are in Star Wars at like aim and stuff. I'm like, nah, get the fuck out of here. That's not the case.
Even Jesse's facial expressions while shooting at this guy, it's like Jesse doesn't want to kill this guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's afraid to kill this guy, but he has to kill this guy.
And he didn't go there to cause violence.
He just wanted the $1,800.
Yeah. I like that when he shoots the red-haired guy, he like falls through a pane of glass and then ends up in a vending machine.
Yeah.
And then there's like this really cool shot from outside of a broken window, and like he's talking to the other characters that were in the room together with them, and like the pane of glass breaks during that shot. And I'm wondering, like, was it someone's job on set to make sure that pane of glass broke during that shot, or was that like an accident?
Improv, yeah.
Because if it was improv, then that's like fucking great.
I mean, it's obviously breakaway glass.
Yeah.
But maybe like a piece of it just fell off, or like, you know, it's just something that happened during the whole exchange. But yeah, it might have.
It's like kind of perfect though. It's really cool.
I mean, as an actor, they have a responsibility to move through the scene, even though it may not be perfect. I mean, it happens with a lot of movies. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
So yeah, small little detail. And like they all have like their own little flinch when the glass breaks and stuff. So that makes me think that it was improv. He like collects their license, which is, hey, this was another moment where like Jesse's playing smart, like having the upper hand of like, give me your license. I know, he like names off their names, like, I know where you live. If you tell the cops about this, I will come find you.
This felt like a direct reference to Fight Club. Do you know what scene I'm talking about? Where Brad Pitt goes and beats up the gas attendant guy.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, if you're not a veterinarian in 6 weeks, I'll come back and kill you. It was almost the exact same, kind of.
That's funny.
And the scene's kind of like displaying Jesse's fragile moral code, where like he doesn't want to kill people, but like these people perceive him as a killer. So he's going to use that fear to like, you know, shut them up into silence, really. Thought that was kind of cool. That's really like the climax of the movie. It's not the end, but it really is like the emotional and the like action oriented climax. I didn't understand why he blew up the warehouse as he was leaving.
I didn't either. Part of me thinks that he was just trying to like burn the crime scene up.
Yeah, but like he's already wanted. He's already like, you know, everybody knows who he is. And I'm wondering if this is a reference to when Jesse and Walt like finally kill Gus Fring and they blow up the old meth lab. And that's just like one of the other things that he like kind of took away from Walt, like as a character, like just blowing shit up. I don't know. Maybe that's a stretch on my part.
I think it was just to add a little bit of extra oomph.
Yeah.
Honestly.
We needed some explosions in this very slow burn, 2-hour-long movie.
That's just all I can think about. You don't really get any more exposition or anything. It pretty much just wraps up. Obviously, that was a climax, and the next scene opens up with this U-Haul type truck driving what looks like Alaska, and it's near the U.S.-Canada border because there's a road sign, and then it pulls up to almost like a Bronco SUV type Jeepish vehicle. Like Jesse gets out of the back. He's tucked away. He's tucked away in this little slot behind all this furniture.
God, this would suck.
Yeah, terribly. I guess he's been in a cage before. He don't care.
Yeah.
The movie wraps up pretty well though.
It's a nice little send off. I mean, you get a little bit of closure on stuff that you didn't get in Breaking Bad. Oh, what?
We forgot about the Walt and the Jesse scene.
Oh, we have to talk about this.
Yeah, don't want to go too far ahead, but go ahead.
We do get the closure on one major aspect that Breaking Bad left out. It's what happened to Brock, the little boy. And you don't really understand what happened to him right here, but you know that Jesse sends him a letter, and you don't get to see what's in the letter, but it must be important. It's just nice to get closure, him being able to speak to that little boy character just one last time, considering all that he went through with his mom getting shot and everything. But really, it leaves off on a really bittersweet note. He's got the new identity. He's in a whole new place of the country, and it kind of ends off right there. Robert Forster just sends him on his way, and you get a nice little shot where he's driving away, and he looks in the passenger seat, and he visualizes Jane, who we haven't seen since season 2, but it relates back to the last time that Jesse was happy, truly happy. And that's a really great way to end off his character, because the end of Breaking Bad, he's driving away, screaming in pain. This movie ends with him smiling, driving away, looking at, Jane and stuff. Just a good send-off for the character, really. But yes, we do need to talk about Walter appearing in this movie. And I don't know how I forgot about this.
It's really fast.
And I don't understand its importance in this story.
Yeah, me neither.
Did they just want to shoehorn Walter into the movie?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
I'm mad.
I love seeing these two characters together, especially at a point where they don't hate each other yet. So you're kind of getting this semi-friendly, but still kind of confrontational relationship between the two. I don't know. Did you enjoy this scene?
I just didn't really get a whole lot from it. Basically, the whole thing is that Walt says they kind of have a forced conversation about what Jesse's going to do with all his money. He should go teach business or something. You'd be really great at that. And Walt ends up just really saying, just be thankful that you didn't have to wait your whole life to do something incredible.
Okay, I remember now. That line is important. It's doing character development on a character that's already dead, but it kind of clarifies something that isn't clear in Breaking Bad. In the final episode of that show, Walt admits to Skyler, I didn't do it for the family. I mean, he kind of did, but he says, I did it because it made me feel alive. Yeah. And I was good at it. This flashback scene takes place during season 2, I want to say.
It's really, or Jesse's still in in his baggy ass streetwear clothes,
Yeah. And it kind of shows you that early on, Walt felt that way, where he was getting that adrenaline rush. He loved doing this drug kingpin shit early on, because during that show, you're not really sure when the transition happens, when he becomes, when he goes from Mr. Rogers to fucking Scarface, you know what I mean?
From Walt to Heisenberg.
Yeah. Those seeds were planted a lot earlier. That's the only thing I can think of that makes it important. But as far as Jesse's character development, it doesn't really do anything for him, But it's nice seeing them together. Was it distracting to you that Walt was wearing a big bald cap that made his head look gigantic?
I didn't even notice it, honestly.
Really? His cranium is fucking huge. This dude, he was trying out for Megamind right here.
Oh my God.
If you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, bro. DreamWorks, Will Ferrell, right? Is Will Ferrell Megamind?
Yeah. I feel like Bryan Cranston probably didn't want to buzz his head just for this 5-minute part. But yeah, it's a nice scene, I guess. I like seeing these two characters together. It feels more like a deleted scene from the show itself than something that was made for this. But yeah, I feel like that's pretty much everything in the movie, unless you can think of something else.
No. I mean, this movie, I don't know. I mean, I liked it. It wasn't blown away by it. Obviously, it definitely felt like true to its original colors. Like it is what it is. It's a Breaking Bad movie. It does kind of have like a TV special feel to it. It was made like as a Netflix streaming release thing. I mean, I'm glad. I wish it really focused more on Jesse as a character and less about like kind of feeling like he was tying up loose ends in a way, or like that the scene with Walt kind of felt and like, yeah, it's nice to see it, and I guess it would kind of add like it's nice to see Walt again type of thing, because like nothing's coming after that. I mean, all the like the editing, like some of like we talked about earlier, like those scenes were fucking awesome. Like it was really good editing. I don't know. A part of me wishes like there was a little bit more of like a darker, like more PTSD type of thing.
It kind of disappears after those first 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, because like once you get into like the thick of like him trying to gather up money and stuff, it kind of goes away. But, Jesse was always that character that like kind of got fucked by Walt's bullshit and like being, like you said earlier, like feeling like he was manipulated by every other character. It's nice to see him like finally get out.
Be his own man.
Mm-hmm. He's Mr. Driscoll now, I think. But yeah, it was good. It definitely is very fitting. I've been on the Better Call Saul. I think watching the few seasons of that has really helped me appreciate the movie more. I mean, I guess as far as rating, I don't know, probably like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
I wasn't like blown away, but it was like a nice treat. It was like dessert after the meal. Like you got a great entree with like Breaking Bad, and like now here's like your cake.
For me, I feel about the same way as you. I'd go about a 6.5 to light 7 probably. I think it has sprinkles of that genius that the other two shows have. I mean, you're getting great cinematography, great performance. The story is the only thing that's kind of lacking in this one. And like Jesse's character arc was already completed, really, at the end of Breaking Bad. Mm-hmm. And it kind of feels like this doesn't add anything new to him. Because like the end of Breaking Bad, like you kind of were supposed to use your own imagination as to what would happen to him afterward. And this leaves off on the same note. Like he's just like getting away, really. Yeah. And I think a testament to this movie's quality is when I watch Better Call Saul with my wife, she falls asleep quite often.
Yeah.
As with most other things. And I'll go back and rewatch those episodes that she fell asleep during, like a second time in a 24-hour span. And I'm always engrossed. I'm always like super into it. But when I went to sit down and watch this movie a second time last night, I didn't really want to watch it again. You know what I mean?
I didn't want to watch it twice. After I watched it today, I was like, I didn't need to watch this twice.
There's just not enough meat to it, really. And I think it's perfectly fine as it is. It's a good epilogue to this story. It sends off one of the series' best characters, but it's just kind of okay in the grand scheme of the universe.
It's just a little bit extra, and you wouldn't have been mad if you didn't get it.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, time for my white boy spiel.
Give it to me.
I didn't know what I was going to do, but I pretty much had it set in my mind already. I just wasn't really sure. We haven't done something lighthearted, I feel like, in a while. We also haven't done a Disney Pixar film yet.
Ooh, okay.
And this one's relatively new. It's very lighthearted, and there may not be a lot of substance. And I'm sure when we're in a drunken state, I'll really try to milk the shit out of it. But we're going to be doing Luca. I know you haven't seen this one yet. I will just say, I'll be as open as I can about it. I have wept at the end of this film. It's really not even that impactful as far as a complete story. But the ending of this movie really makes me I'll let you digest it for yourself. But it really helps capture some childlike wonder. And it's very innocent. It's animated beautifully. It's like that new Pixar feel where the animation is just top notch. And it's a really fun story. I'm excited for you to watch it because I need you to see it eventually, and I have to make you watch it.
We're going from cartel drug dealing sociopaths to Pixar.
Yeah, to mermaid people and a French city type thing.
Only on the Two Dudes Brews and Reviews podcast can you get this kind of contrast.
Correct.
That sounds good. I'm excited. I haven't seen a new Pixar movie since
Soul?
Yeah, which I guess wasn't that long ago.
2 or 3 years ago.
This is another one of those Pixar straight to Disney Plus things.
Mm-hmm. This came out I think this was the Pixar film that released after Soul. So
Okay.
it's not as deep as Soul, but it's still really fun, and I think it's got its own flavor to it, and I think it's going to be really fun to talk about.
Sweet. That's great, man.
All right.
I love Pixar. When they're good, they're really good. So I think that'll be exciting, man.
All right. It's very fitting for this episode, but I think you can really give off a true Mexican cartel send-off.
Adios.